So you're telling me you're not lonely, just deeply introspective? Cute. Let me guess. You spent the weekend lighting candles, journaling about your dreams, and pretending Carl Jung himself whispered affirmations into your AirPods. Meanwhile, the only human interaction you had was yelling at the delivery guy through the door like a paranoid grandma in a telenovela. But don't worry, Jung saw you coming. This one's for all the women who turned solitude into a spiritual brand. The ones who believe being single isn't just a relationship status, it's a full-time metaphysical experience. But what if I told you Jung never meant for you to romanticize being ghosted by your own social life? Welcome to the dark side of independent woman energy, where shadow work meets empty wine bottles and Jung rolls over in his grave. You ever notice how some people treat Jung's quotes like divine prophecies? They take a vague line like, "until you make the unconscious conscious," and suddenly it becomes their license to ghost everyone, delete WhatsApp, and move into a cabin with no men, no noise, just vibes. Carl Jung was many things: psychiatrist, philosopher, beard connoisseur, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't the founding father of hot girl hermetism. Let's set the record straight. When Jung talked about individuation, he didn't mean binge-watching tarot readings on YouTube and calling it healing. He meant facing your inner demons, your repressed truths, your messy-ass childhood, not slapping shadow work quotes on a selfie and calling it growth. But today's digital oracles, mostly white women with impressive dream journals and 3 cats named after goddesses, have turned Jung into a horoscope with a PhD. Let's dissect the favorite quote making the rounds. "The woman who lives alone and thrives is the greatest threat to the system." Oof, sounds powerful, right? Like Beyoncé meets Freud. But thriving alone doesn't always mean enlightenment. Sometimes it just means you muted the group chat and started talking to your plants. Jung probably meant that society fears people who break the mold, but TikTok took it and ran with it like, "I canceled brunch plans 3 times in a row, now I'm a sacred rebel priestess with divine boundaries." It's funny how fast solitude goes from self-care to superiority complex. What started as, "I need space to grow," quickly turns into, "I'm better than you because I went 72 hours without checking Instagram." There's nothing wrong with solitude, but turning it into a spiritual flex? That's the real shadow. It gets even weirder. There's this whole cult of online Jungians, digital mystics with filter-heavy reels and crystals on their dashboards, quoting anima and animus like they're relationship experts, but still crying over a man who ghosted them during Mercury retrograde. They'll post, "Real queens don't chase, they align," and then beg the universe to send their ex a sign through angel number 444. Look, loneliness isn't a crime. Sometimes it's beautiful, sacred even. But if you've had 5 lavender teas and you're still crying about your twin flame from 2021, maybe Jung isn't the problem. Maybe it's your Wi-Fi and your fear of intimacy. Not every silence is divine. Sometimes it's just bad communication skills and avoidance. And before you come for me, let me be clear. Choosing yourself is badass. But you gotta ask, are you actually choosing growth or just choosing isolation because it's easier than vulnerability? Next up, we're diving headfirst into what these psychological buzzwords are really masking. Because not every woman alone is a threat to the system. Sometimes she's just emotionally constipated with a very expensive candle collection. Stay tuned. You ever met someone so deep into Jungian psychology they forgot how to be a person? Like, They can explain the archetype of the mother, the animus, and the collective unconscious, but can't return a text within 72 hours. They'll leave you on red and then say, "Sorry, I was integrating my inner shadow." Oh, okay, Karen. Was your shadow using your phone too?
Let's talk about the shadow, the favorite concept of everyone who's read half of one Jungian meme and now thinks ghosting people is a spiritual right. You lie, manipulate, avoid accountability. I'm just confronting my shadow self. No, girl, you're just being difficult. You can't slap Jung on your toxicity like it's a designer label and expect it to look good. And don't get me started on the dating apps. Jungians on Tinder are a different breed. Their bio reads, INFJ, witchy, shadow worker, seeking someone who can hold space for my transformations. Translation, I want someone to deal with my emotional chaos while I call it healing. You match, you talk, and within 3 messages, they ask your moon sign. Not your name, not your favorite movie, your moon sign. Worse still, the ones who say, I'm in my individuation era. Oh, so you're unemployed and isolating yourself from every human connection in the name of growth. Got it. Look, individuation is a beautiful process, but it's not an excuse to burn bridges and blame it on your archetypes. And then there's therapy. Or should I say, shadow integration sessions with a trauma-informed coach who got certified on Instagram. You sit down to talk about your childhood, and she lights incense, pulls an oracle card, and says, your womb is holding ancestral pain. Ma'am, I stubbed my toe. I don't think that's related to the womb. Maybe I need new shoes, not a guided meditation with a singing bowl. These online Jungians act like their trauma is a personality. Like they're not just working through it, they are it. They say things like, I'm chaos in heels, or my trauma made me iconic. No, babe, your trauma made you spiral. And Carl Jung is looking down from wherever he is, holding a clipboard and silently judging all of you. But it's not just the women. Oh no. Let's talk about the men who weaponize Jung to avoid basic emotional maturity. You know the type. Beard, bracelets, probably a Scorpio rising. They'll stare at you with that intense eye contact and say, I see the archetype of the divine feminine in you. Bro, you don't even recycle. You are not spiritually evolved. You're just hot and vague. They'll go on about their anima, their dreams, their sacred journey, but can't hold a relationship longer than a lunar cycle. They ghost you, then pop back up with a poem they channeled during breath work. Oh, and they always quote Jung like scripture. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Sir, you're 34 and still use your mom's Netflix. What are you talking about? And let's not forget the spiritual retreats. Nothing says enlightenment than paying $1,200 to fast in the desert while pretending to be Jung reincarnated. You sleep in a tent, cry next to a cactus, and someone tells you your dreams about flying snakes mean you're evolving. Meanwhile, the only thing that's evolving is your dehydration. Somewhere in this chaos, we forgot that Carl Jung was a scientist, a man who wrestled with the human psyche, the unconscious, the tension of opposites, not someone who wanted to be quoted on Canva posts between selfies. Jung studied dreams to explore the soul, not to justify texting your ex at 2 a.m. because you had a vision. We've turned introspection into performance art. It's no longer about understanding yourself, it's about appearing complex. Look at me, I have layers. No, you have attachment issues and a Pinterest board full of moon quotes. Sit down. And here's the kicker. Half these people who live and die by Jung haven't even read Jung. They read quotes. Curated, filtered, misused. They base their identity on out-of-context snippets like, loneliness does not come from being alone. Meanwhile, they're at home Googling, why does nobody love me? Between incense refills. We've reduced one of the most complex psychological frameworks into a TikTok trend. It's like turning Shakespeare into BuzzFeed quizzes. Which Jungian archetype are you based on your Starbucks order? Spoiler, you're all the fool. No one wants to be the fool, but that's how archetypes work. It's not cute, it's complicated, like your relationship with your mom. And that's what no one tells you. The real shadow work?
It's not glamorous. It's not sexy. It's crying in the shower because you realize you project your father issues onto every man with a beard and a book collection. It's apologizing for being toxic. It's shutting up sometimes instead of intellectualizing every feeling like it's a TED Talk. So here's the brutal truth. Carl Jung gave us a mirror, not a mask, and most of y'all are using it backwards. Next, we dig into the rise of the psych spiritual girl boss, the final boss of misapplied Jungian theory. She's not just healing, she's monetizing it. You don't want to miss this. You thought it ended with shadow work and Tinder bios dripping in archetypes? Oh no. Welcome to the final level, the psycho-spiritual girl boss trademark. She's done crying in the desert. She's monetizing it now. You've seen her. She posts stories from Bali or Tulum, sipping herbal tea out of a coconut shell, eyes glazed and post-ayahuasca wisdom, whispering into her phone camera, "Your trauma is not your identity. But my course on healing yours? $997 in 3 monthly payments." That's not a healing journey, that's a marketing funnel. She doesn't go to therapy, she is therapy for $297 a session. This is the woman who wakes up at 5:55 a.m. to realign her chakras, journal 22 affirmations, and check how many people viewed her How to Become the Main Character of Your Life reel. Her brand is Divine Feminine meets LinkedIn. She says things like, "I don't chase, I attract." Yet she refreshes her Shopify store stats every 6 minutes like a day trader on crack. And her target? You. The burnt-out millennial who Googled, "Why do I sabotage my relationships?" at 3 a.m. after crying into microwave lasagna. She smells your desperation. She funnels your desperation. She starts with a carousel post. Slide 1, feeling stuck. Slide 2, it's not your fault. Your inner child is holding you back. Slide 3, I used to be there too. Slide 4, but then I unlocked my feminine blueprint. Slide 5, join my 6-week Shadow Alchemy Mastermind. Only 12 spots left. Always 12 spots, like he's Jesus with a trauma-based discipleship program. And let's talk about their program names. They're never normal, never self-awareness or emotional regulation. Nah, it's always something like Awaken the Rose Phoenix Within, or From Wound to Weapon, Healing the Feminine Flame. You don't know what any of it means, but somehow you're on her wait list. Every launch is a ritual, a digital solstice. She wears all white, lights Palo Santo, hits a Tibetan singing bowl and says things like, "This isn't just a program, it's an activation. No, Karen, it's a PDF in a Facebook group. Calm down." And don't even think about questioning her, because then you're not in alignment. You're operating from scarcity. Or worse, you're projecting your wounded masculine. Meanwhile, she's charging your card faster than a Vegas slot machine. Healing? No, this is capitalism in a caftan. Now let's talk content strategy. These girl bosses don't just post, they manifest virality. They alternate between seductive selfies with "I'm not for everyone" captions, trauma dumps dressed as poetry, and oddly specific reels whispering things like, "If you're seeing this, it's because you're ready to evolve. Girl, I was just trying to scroll past a dog video. Now I'm buying a crystal shaped like a yoni." And the language? It's a mix of tech bro startup talk and shamanic mysticism. I created a trauma-informed ecosystem of sovereign sisterhoods through nervous system recalibration and aligned energetic launches. What does that even mean? You're not building a spaceship. You're charging women $800 to cry on Zoom. But they're slick, because the entire brand runs on manufactured vulnerability. She'll post a teary selfie with the caption, "This is me after crying for 3 hours because I realized I've been attracting men who mirror my father's absence." 2 swipes later, doors open for my signature container, the magnetic wound. Even her breakdowns have a call to action. And let's not forget the healing testimonials. Oh, God, the testimonials. Always the same formula. I was stuck in survival mode, couldn't even brush my hair.
Then I joined her container, and now I'm living in my feminine power. I quit my job, and I'm dating a crypto investor who validates my inner child. No one asks how the crypto investor is doing. No one asks about her credit score after quitting that job. But hey, she's glowing under that trauma-informed ring light. Now look, healing is real. Jung had valuable insights, but this is a branding exercise wrapped in spiritual bypassing, dipped in self-obsession, and deep-fried in MLM energy. They've taken Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist who dissected the unconscious with surgical precision and turned him into a brand aesthetic. Jung didn't die for you to use the term collective unconscious as a punchline for your customer avatar. Even dreams are monetized now. She'll say, "Dreams are sacred messages from your guides," and then charge you $200 for a dream decoding workbook. Imagine telling Jung that. Imagine telling Freud that. The man would spontaneously combust. And if you question any of this, you're not holding space. You're low frequency. You're still in 3D consciousness. You know what else is in 3D? Debt! You know what doesn't help it? Shadow work you paid for on Afterpay. This is where the satire writes itself. She preaches feminine softness, but runs her brand like a Wall Street analyst. She talks about surrender, but tracks conversion rates on Google Analytics. She warns against toxic masculinity, while her entire sales funnel is pressure-driven FOMO tactics. You are not becoming your highest self. You're just becoming easier to market to. So what do? First, remember, growth doesn't have to be branded. You can heal quietly. You can integrate your shadow without turning it into a 5-part carousel. You can feel broken and not sell access to your process. You can log off. Carl Jung once said, "The shoe that fits one person pinches another." Maybe what he meant was, stop selling shoes to people bleeding from wounds you don't understand. Not every trauma is content. Not every insight is a launch strategy. And not every follower is a soulmate client. Sometimes you're just selling noise wrapped in glitter. So next time someone says, "You're not broken, you're just out of alignment," ask them for their refund policy. Then take a nap. That's the real healing.